Hello, and how are you doing? I'm a little squint-eyed and confused, with apologies to Gord Downey of the Tragically Hip. I just found out a few moments ago that one of Canada's greatest singer-songwriters, poets, a man who I respected immensely, and I'm gonna miss him. And I never got to see him live. I had plans to go see him live a few years ago, and then the COVID global pandemic hit, and I didn't get to see him. Gordon Lightfoot just passed away. For those of you who are maybe familiar, maybe unfamiliar, he was a great Canadian singer-songwriter, and I'm going to miss him. Some of the greatest songs ever written in a great Canadian songbook were by that man. So, a little bit of sadness with that. And that's sometimes just how it goes. Yeah. So I had to show scheduled a little bit later this evening. It will be for the next little bit, as other friends on the network have time slots booked. I can do this on my own YouTube channel, solo, of course, and at 9 p.m. But the idea is to leverage the network that I'm a part of, so we can get this program out to as many people as possible. So, hence the purpose for the later start this evening. Sorry, I needed to clear my throat. So, hey, Stephen, sorry, hope you're doing well. I had a very busy weekend, actually. A lot of recording, editing, production work. Met with a friend I hadn't seen in some time, and he wants me to help him set up his studio. So, yeah, I'm happy to do that. Help him create a live production suite for podcasting, live video, you name it. And he has way more gear than I do. So this could be an interesting endeavor, and I'm looking forward to what we can do together, how we can collaborate. He's got some interesting ideas, and I think that together we'll be able to create something unique, along with the fact that, at the studio, I'll be able to use it to produce some of these things as well, if I so desire. He's made that offer to me. I don't know how that would change this particular channel, because quite honestly, I think this channel is exactly what it is, and it doesn't need to be anything more than this. I don't know that any flashy cameras or lighting effects or anything like that would I'm going to turn off one of these lights, actually. That's a little bit better. That one was shining right in my eyes, and I didn't care for it. I don't know that some flashier lights or cameras would really change what this channel is, because this channel is it's about discussing mental health in the most soothing voice I can deliver it in. So I don't think there's really a reason to upgrade this particular channel. Perhaps for some of the other things that I work on, I could certainly put the studio to good use. But for what I'm doing right here, right now, I think this is it's its own thing. It's kind of what it is. So anyway, enough about technology and the business. Let's talk about our mental health, because after all, that's why we're here, right? Is to discuss that. And I am not going to lie, because I promised you I would never do that. I did have a busy weekend. Sunday was a very good day, very productive day, very busy. Did a jazz show, did a live show, did some editing, some production work, met with my buddy, went over a bunch of things, and then we went and had a nice lunch. Then I bumped into a friend, unexpectedly bumped into a friend I've not seen in 5 years because she had moved to Calgary. And then she moved back, but she moved back like 1 week before the whole world shut down. So, yeah, I'd not seen her for 2 years prior to the start of the pandemic in 2020, and then, that thing took place. So it was serendipitous that we bumped into one another yesterday, and we had a really lovely conversation. I finally got a chance to meet her son for the first time. And I knew her husband. I'd met him before, so I'd met him a few times before, prior to their when they were still dating. Anyway, it was a lovely Sunday, but Saturday I did some production work and some editing work, and then I had some very dark moments. Without getting into the nitty-gritty of it, because some details I do need to keep private, and I'm sure you can understand that. Some things I need to keep for, well, not just privacy reasons, but for personal reasons. And, there's things I still need to work out with a therapist when I can get one again. But I did have some dark moments this past weekend, Saturday. Just feeling lost and empty and desperate and in a state of despair. And when that darkness creeps in, those old voices come back to tell you to do harmful things to yourself. Now, thankfully, I don't listen to them. I've chosen not to listen to them. I've chosen to ignore the terrible things that they say to me. And instead, I've chosen to choose me, which is not always easy. And I definitely had those moments on Saturday when I was questioning everything. And then, out of nowhere, I had a very brief moment of clarity. And I don't know what brought it about, but all of a sudden it was like calmness came over me. Because I realized that what I was going through was, the brain chemistry not cooperating, and it was telling me terrible things. And I did not, I always choose not to act upon them, but I did have a few moments where, and this is a confession, I had a few moments where it was like, well, maybe, and then, the clarity comes back and you go, whoa, put the brakes on there, bud. Don't let that dictate your future, or in this case, lack thereof. And I think you know what I'm saying when I say that. I'm always able to talk myself off the ledge. But here's the thing with therapy, medication, exercise, self-reflection, and being open and talking about what I go through, it's still there. It's never going to go away. It's always going to be there. And as much as that sucks, and it does, and I hate that it's like that. I don't want it to be like that. I want to be enjoying every moment, but there are times when the old brain chemistry just doesn't cooperate. And that's when I take extra steps, when I come to that realization that, okay, 1 second. The darkness has crept in again. And when the darkness creeps in, that's when I have to pay special attention to not succumbing to the voices that inner demon tells you, the things that it says. You have to learn to shield yourself from them and ignore them. And I don't know how to tell you how to do that. I have methods that work for me. And when I come to the realization that that's happening, it's usually because I've had too much alone time. And there's more to this story, of course. Like usually Fridays, I go and meet a group of friends at the pub and maybe have a beer. Sometimes I've had too many beer. The last few times I've gone out, I've had like non-alcoholic drinks. But the last 2 weeks, I've had to work late, and by the time I got home, 6:30, 7 o'clock, the guys have already, they're ready to leave. And quite frankly, I'm, pounding migraine at that point. I just want to lie on the couch and get some rest because it's been a very long day. Now, Fridays in the office I work in, they're usually scheduled as no meetings, unless it's an extenuating circumstance where a client has flown in from the other side of the planet, and this is how they could make it schedule. Hey, you know what? I get it. That's the nature of business. So I am at your disposal. I'm there to help you and make things work. Just what I did. And happy to do it because I very much enjoy what I do during the day for my main source of income, because it's actually, technically, that's my only source of income. Anyway, but a couple of weeks in a row, I've had to work late on Friday, and I've not had time with my buddies at the pub on a Friday, which is something I very much look forward to at the end of the week. And I think by the time Saturday evening rolled around, I'd had too much solitude time. And that is not good for me, because the more time I spend alone, the more my energy level drops. I'm not an introvert, I'm very much an extrovert, and I do enjoy my alone time. But too much of it for me is unhealthy, because the voice in my head that tells me to do bad things to myself just gets louder and louder and gets on a repetitive cycle, and I'm always searching for ways to quiet it. Well, thankfully, I was able to find a way, and I'm always capable of that. But I'm not going to lie, it was tough. It was. I knew I was going to be okay, but that doesn't mean it wasn't difficult. When I woke up Sunday, I did not sleep well Saturday evening. I slept very rough. The dreams were wild and vivid, and I woke up in a sweat, in a bit of a panic. It took me about 20 minutes to come to the realization the dreams that I just had were just that. They weren't real. Sometimes I've had the dreams that were so vivid when I've woken up in the morning that I was ready to start messaging people to fix what it was that we couldn't fix, when I realized, no, I dreamt that. None of that happened. And it's not exactly a pleasant experience, to put it mildly. It's rather difficult, and it's one of the side effects of the medication that I'm on. And, here's the thing, I'm willing to accept that side effect because of the fact that it has improved my life exponentially. I still have my dark moments. Still have the dark moments from time to time, and I still have times when the dreams are so vivid that it's hard to tell if they were real or not. And I guess Hmm. I I recommend medication for those who are willing to try it. And I say try it because there's no guarantee that the medication that is given to you is going to work. And some people need to go through multiple prescriptions before they find something that works for them. I have friends and family members and lifelong friends that have gone through that experience. It took them years to find the right medication. I had one horrible experience and I walked away from it. And that medication I took in the 90s made me manic, made me suicidal. Is what it made me. That might be a trigger word, and I'm sorry if that triggers anyone. I don't mean to cause harm, and hopefully YouTube won't shut me down for using a term that is medical and described what I was going through at the time. That medication made me feel that way. So when I went off of it, it made it even worse for about a month until it was out of my system. And yeah, I was reluctant to try anything after that because my first experience was so horribly bad. Well, anyway, when things got really dark and I made that decision back in late February of 2020 after consulting, let me rephrase that, after having a conversation with a very dear friend who is also a physician, who was on the medication that I'm on and said, I don't know what I would have done without it. And I went, okay, so let's give it a go. It was also the reassurance I got from her when she said, Paul, if things don't work, if it doesn't work for you, you can stop the medication, all the side effects go away. It's only a matter of time. And remember that you're going to be okay. You have friends in your life, family in your life, people that love you and want you to stay with us. So, what have you got to lose at this point? And I needed to hear that. I needed to hear that not just from a doctor, but from somebody who was a close, trusted, dear companion, a friend who I love very much, and I'm thankful for, because that was a life-changing, life-saving moment for me. So, do I recommend medication? If you think it's going to help you, then yes. If you're leery or worried or afraid of it, have the conversation with your doctor. Find out all the information that you can. And when I say find out all the information that you can, be careful about going down the rabbit hole on the internet. Because oftentimes all you'll find are the worst stories, which will only drive your paranoia to be a little bit more paranoid. And let's face it, nobody wants or needs that. So what I recommend is you have the conversation with your doctor or your therapist or your psychologist or psychiatrist, whomever it is, or maybe a family member, maybe a trusted loved one. I don't know who you should have this conversation with, but make sure it's somebody that has your best interest at heart. And make sure that the person will be supportive of your decision. Without the medication, I don't know that I would have made it through the pandemic. And even my Irish Catholic mother says the same thing. She legitimately said, I don't think you would have made it without the medication. And not that the pandemic is technically over. COVID is now endemic, but we're not get into the discussion about that. But the toughest period, when the whole world shut down in March of 2020, I had been 4 weeks on the medication at that point. And the ramp-up period Takes about 6 weeks, but by week number 4, I was okay with what was happening. I was, like everybody else, concerned for, okay, now I'm not going to have an income as of the 30th of March because the company was shutting down completely. That was a concern. They said, no, immediately apply for unemployment insurance, or employment insurance, I guess it's called now. It's been so long since I've had to draw it. And it's called different things in different parts of the world. But apply for EI, and then we had CERB, and then we had CEWS, CEWS, which is the Canadian Employment Wage Subsidy, or Canadian Emergency Wage Subsidy, I think is what it was, where we were to get 75% of our salary funded by the federal government. And the idea was that, companies could pony up the other 25%. Well, mine ponied up 5, so 6+ months at 80% salary after a few weeks of no salary on vehicle expenses, which we used to have a vehicle allowance. That was cut. That was gone. What I'm getting at is everybody went through a tough period. But thankfully, I had medication that worked for me for the first time in my life from a mental aspect, that is. Lots of medications work for other things, but I'd never had anything that fixed the chemical imbalance in my brain before. And that's why I'm still here today, and that's why I'm here talking to you, is because I made a decision. I chose myself, and it worked out for the very, very best. Very happy about that. I have no regrets. You have to make your own decision for yourself. If I rewind things back to this past weekend, there were some very dark moments on Saturday when I felt alone. I felt abandoned. I felt lost. I was in complete despair. And I know all of that was literally just in my head. I know none of that was real, but when you're going through those emotions, when you're feeling all of those things, boy, it's tough to take. It's really tough to take because they feel 100% real. They're not. And that's the one thing I continue to remind myself, that none of that is real. None of this is real. This is all literally in my head. But the emotions, the physical response, your body responds to it in the same way as if it were real. And that is the difficult part, where you suddenly have no strength to get up off the couch. Holding your head up takes all your energy. You realize, I have to get dressed. I have to bathe. I have to get dressed. I have to get out of this dwelling and go talk to another human being, face to face, in person. So that's what I did. And as difficult as it was, it made a huge difference. It made a tremendously huge difference, and I was able to, get through the toughest part. And thankfully, because I chose me, I'm still here. So what I'm asking you is to choose you. Choose yourself. I know that it's going to be difficult sometimes. I do know that it can feel like a Sisyphean task. It feels almost impossible sometimes, but please, choose yourself. And if you need to be a little bit selfish to get through the day, Let your loved ones, your friends, companions, your partners, your coworkers know I'm really struggling today. And I'm trying to silence this terrible voice in my head that's telling me terrible things. So please excuse me if I appear to be absent today, because I'm just trying to get through the moment. And for those of us who live that life, that's exactly what it is. Just get through the moment. When a minute feels like an hour and an hour feels like a day, it's so exhausting. And I guess that's where we'll start to wind things up today. But remember to breathe. Let's do one together, shall we? What is it, 4-7-6? I can't remember. Breathe in. Hold it. I like to breathe in, hold it for 5 seconds, and then exhale. So inhale through the nose. I alternate mouth and nose sometimes because the lungs are expanded to the point where they feel like they're going to burst, and I have to do what I have to do. And that's okay. Just take another deep breath. Okay. I'm feeling so much better. It's incredible how a few deep breaths will lend a helping hand in calming your soul and your brain. I'm going to bid you adieu for this evening, and I will be back next Monday at 9:30 p.m. And I apologize for the later start, but sometimes this is just how it goes. I hope you can join me. And I promise you this: if on this upcoming weekend, although I'm scheduled to go out of town, but if I have a moment like that, and hopefully I won't, but if I have a moment like that again, I'll go live to discuss it, because I think some people need to see what it looks like, because not everybody understands, and understanding is what we strive for here. Okay. I am going to take my leave. I will bid you adieu, and I'll see you soon, my friends. Thanks for joining. Take care.